This is going to be an overview video for the Clinical Mental Health Paperwork Toolkit from AI Engines. You'll notice at the top, do not enter PHI or identifying information. This is important. This tool is not meant to be clinical. It's just meant to help with some of the manual processes involved in being a mental health counselor. Your role, you can select from a drop-down of several different positions that you could play in. So let's just do a mental health counselor. And then you can also choose your practice context. So we'll leave it private practice for now. Progress notes, you can also do treatment plans and letters. Let's start with progress notes. I'm going to leave the medical necessity framing checked, but you can uncheck that depending upon your use case. And then you would just write in your session content. In this case, I've got some examples for the demo, so I'm just going to click in an example. So now we've got our session content that I would have written, and we then click Format Note. Okay, once our formatting is complete, we can quickly see that we have different types of notes that we can jump into. The little +6 there says that there's something in here that we may want to consider adding, and we can find that at the bottom of each of the notes. So here's our formatted SOAP note, and then some strengthening recommendations. Again, these are all recommendations that we can choose to use or ignore, totally up to us. And you'll notice again, there's a note here that you're responsible for viewing, editing, etc. This note screen allows us to click into any note and add or change anything that we want to change. This helps us in a clinical perspective to make sure it says what we really wanted to say. There are different types of formats that you can view, all formatted based on that original input that you put in. But let's say this intervention needs some help. So I can just click in here and I'm going to add some information to this intervention. As soon as I click off, we're going to get a question. Do we want to format all of our other view formats with the update that we just put in? So we can say no, just keep it as is, or we can say yes. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes and update all of my notes with the new information. Okay, now you'll see that the view format has changed a bit. Each of our buttons here has updated, has been added, except for BERT because that's the one we changed. So it took what we changed and updated everything else with that change. But now you'll notice we have a 1 with an exclamation point. So if I click that, I can see that there's a critical gap missing in this GRRP. So I can choose to implement or not implement, totally up to me. Again, we have strengthening recommendations here. And once again, I can click into any block and make changes. The updated tag goes away once I've clicked on it and reviewed the changes. We can also go into, again, any block and add additional changes. If I wanted to go back to where I made my original change here, you'll notice I can also reevaluate the gaps. Because I made a change, I might have fixed one of the things, and so I'm just going to click reevaluate. And that's going to change my strengthening recommendations. I still have a flag for a critical gap there, so I might want to consider addressing that. So this is on the progress notes section of this agent. Let's switch over to treatment plan, and we'll input a different example. I've got some quick examples here. So if I were the clinician, I would have put in my treatment plan content, and then let's format the plan. I'm also going to leave, I can change these, but I'll just leave them to what they are for now. And notice that I'm not putting any client names, initials, dates of birth, dates of service, member IDs. None of that goes into this tool. This tool is just meant to help you format your plan. All right, once we get our treatment plan, we can again click into anything and make a quick change. So everything is human editable and it needs to be. This is the human loop. This is the human in the loop process of agentic AI, and it's critically important. You'll notice that we've got a couple of things happening here. There's no measurable criteria for goal 3. If we scroll down through everything, we'll also notice that that's flagged here, goal 3. So gaps to review before we submit this. If I like everything here or I make a change, once I'm done, I can copy, or I can choose the type of copy. So it's going to default to plain text, so I can cut and paste it into something else, or I can get rich text or markdown. Markdown is going to be more for different tools that we might put it into depending upon the output that they need. But if I wanted to copy rich text, I would just copy the rich text. And finally, let's look at letters. These are about those insurance authorizations we have to have. So there's prior authorization, continued stay reviews, and denial appeal. Let's jump into prior authorization. We'll just load an example real quick and go ahead and format the letter. All right, once our formatted prior authorization comes back, once again, we have clickable blocks. Once again, we have clickable blocks. Once again, we have clickable blocks. I can also expand these blocks to make them easier to edit. And any changes I make will save as soon as I click out of that area. There are some gaps to review, again, suggestions. And when I'm done, I can click out and then copy and paste in whatever format that I want for that authorization letter. So that's a quick rundown of the Clinical Mental Health Paperwork Toolkit. Please give it a review. Let me know if you think this would be a helpful tool or if there's just a lot of redundancy or not something that would be helpful at all. Appreciate your time. Thanks for the review.